Today we're going to be looking at congruent chords and arcs. There are three things that we have to know. The first one is that two chords are congruent if and only if their corresponding arcs are congruent. That is to say, if I am looking at the chord A to B and C to D, I know these are congruent if and only if the arcs connecting them, so arc AB, is congruent to arc CD. The second one we must know is that they are equidistant from the center. So that's to say AB is congruent to CD if and only if the distance from E to F and E to G are congruent. Now that should make sense to you pretty well, because if you have a chord further away from the center of the circle, it's going to get shorter versus longer, or closer to the center, it'll be longer. They have to be equidistant to be the same length. The third thing you have to know is a diameter or a radius is perpendicular to a chord, then it bisects the chord and its arc. So what I have written is that EH is perpendicular to AB. So these two are perpendicular. Then I know that from A to B, or A to F, and from F to B are congruent. So I know these two are congruent, and then I know the two arcs, A to H and H to B, are congruent. So what we're going to do, we're going to start using these. I'm going to let you have time to practice. So number 3, find X, Y. Well, I want you to notice we have tick marks on the arcs. So the arcs are congruent. If I look back up at my rules, the one with congruent arcs is rule A. So we're going to be using rule A on this problem. For rule A, it says if the arcs are congruent, then our line segments are congruent. So 9x minus 34 is equal to 4x plus 1. Of course, you can plug this into Desmos, and if you do that, you can put minus parenthesis instead of the equal sign, and where it crosses the x-axis would be your answer. I'm going to be doing it algebraically. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. I'm going to add 34 to both sides. So I'm going to have 5x is equal to 35, dividing by 5. I get x is equal to 7. This is good, but I'm looking up and it says to find xy. So xy is the equation 4 times x, so I'm going to put in my 7, plus 1. This is 28 plus 1, which is 29 as my final answer. Let's look at number 5. I'm asked to find x. So I have that the chord or the line segments are congruent, therefore the arcs are congruent. Well, don't know what happened just now. There we go. Now I want you to notice that I have the entire circle in this problem. So if I add, and the top right one is because it's 6x minus 20. So if I add these up, I can set them equal to 360. So I'm going to do 76 plus 6x minus 20. Now I could write another 6x minus 20 for the top right, or I can just do 2 times it, because there's 2 of them, is equal to 360 degrees. If I subtract 76, I get 2 6x minus 20s, is equal to 284. So 6x minus 20 is going to be equal to my mind blinked. I apologize for that. 142. Sorry. Going to add 20. 6x is going to be equal to 162. X is going to be equal to 27. I was not asked to find the degree of the arc zy or xy. It just says find x. Therefore, this is my final answer. The step I did not write, I divided by 2 here. But anyway. Number 6, if MP is equal to 5x minus 34 and PN is equal to 2x minus 4, find MP. Well, let's look at what we have as of right now. We have the arcs are congruent, therefore the chords are congruent. Okay? If I have the chords are congruent, which is rule A, I can use, when it loads, rule B, which says that if AB is congruent to CD, so the chords are congruent, then from the radius to the chord are congruent. So I can now say, and use rule B, to say those two are congruent. Therefore, MP is congruent to PN. 5x minus 34 is equal to 2x minus 4. You can plug this in Desmos. Instead of equal, put minus parenthesis. But in solving, I'm going to get 3x is equal to 30, so x is equal to 10. I am asked to find MP. Now, I can just plug 10 into MP, but notice that MP and PN are the same amount. They're congruent. So I'm going to say MP is equal to PN, because it's easier numbers to work with, they're smaller, which is 2 times 10 minus 4. That's 20 minus 4, 16. Therefore, MP is equal to 16. If I was to plug 10 into the 5x minus 34, it's 5 times 10 for 50, then minus 34, which is 16. Again, you get the same answer either way. Plugging it into these smaller numbers is just a little bit easier. All right, I want you to go in and take time to pause the video and try numbers 1, 2, and 4. I'm going to give you a second to pause it. Okay, now I'm going to write down the answers. So you can check your work. You're going to get x is equal to 13. You're going to get x is equal to 3. And you're going to get the measure of RS is equal to 71 degrees. Now I'm going to put an aside here. Whenever you solve it, you are going to get that x is equal to 13, which you then have to plug in. But this one is the answer. All right, moving on down. I want you to try numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10. I'm going to do 11, and I want you to try number 12. All right, for number 11, if QM is equal to 6x minus 11, MR is equal to 2x plus 9. Find MN. So I have that the radii to points Q and R respectively are congruent, that means my chords are congruent. So I have QM and MR. They're meeting at a right angle, so by rule C, each side is split in half. So M to R is congruent to R to N. That is important to find MN. So first, I'm going to find out what my X value is so I can find the length of MR and then find the total length M to N. Now that's a lot of words. Let's try it in practice. First, I know that they're congruent. So I have 6x minus 11 is equal to 2x plus 9. You can type it in Desmos, get the answer, but 4x is going to be equal to 20. X is equal to 5. All right, now I'm closer to finding MN, but I need to find the length of MR first. So MR is going to equal to, I'm going to plug in my 5, plus 9. This is 2 times 5 is 10, plus 9, 19. So now the length of MR is 19. 2 times MR, because they're congruent, is equal to MN. So MN is equal to 2 times 19, which gives me 38. That shouldn't be too bad, I hope. I was going to let you try 12, but there's a little trick to it, so I'm going to work it. It has the same setup as number 11, but I have that CI, arc CI, and why aren't you, there we go. Maybe. The iPad's being slow. But arc CI is equal to 7x minus 15. And arc EF, which is both halves, is equal to 12x minus 8. Now, I know that the arcs are congruent because of rule 1. Let me go up and look. Rule A, whatever it is. I know the arcs are congruent because of rule A. So, I know that 7x minus 15 would be equal to IF. However, I'm looking at the total arc. So I'm going to add in another side there. So I'm going to multiply that by 2. So 2 7x minus 15s is equal to 12x minus 8. Once again, Desmos minus parenthesis instead of equal. But when solving this, you're going to get 7x minus 15, and I'm dividing by 2, is equal to 6x minus 4. I'm going to have minus 6x for both sides, and add 15. X is equal to 11. It tells me to find the measure of arc CI. So I'm plugging into CI, 7 times 11, so 77, minus 15, which is going to give me 62, which is my final answer, the measure of arc CI. All right. I do want you to pause it again. Try numbers 7 through 10. I'm going to give you the answer so that you can check your work. You're going to get 37. You're going to get 104 degrees. You're going to get 9, 18, 9, 42, 84. And then 34, 17, 52, 52, 26. All right, last two. Use the circles below for questions 13 and 14, and then for 15 and 16. You are not doing numbers 14 or 16. The reason for that is it is a trigonometry problem, which we have not covered yet. We will be covering that in Unit 7. We're currently in Unit 6. All right, so find VW. So here's V, here's W. I want that entire length, which means at first I need to find ZW, because I know 2 times ZW is equal to VW. All right, I want you to notice I have a right angle there. So I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. I don't know what this side is, so I'm going to put a question mark. Pythagorean theorem. The sum of your side squares, so question mark squared plus 5 squared, is equal to your hypotenuse squared. Hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. So I'm going to get question mark is equal to the square root of 13 squared minus 5 squared, which is going to give me 169 minus 25, which is 144. Square root of 144 is 12. So my question mark length is 12. This is VW, or I'm sorry, that's ZW, is equal to 12, which means I'm going to do 2 times 12, which is 24, which gives me the length of VW. That is my final answer. All right, last one. Number 15. Use a circle below for the question. Notice at the bottom it says h of k is equal to 30, p of m is equal to 8. So, I have find pH. So I'm looking for this length. It gives me h to k is equal to 30, and it gives me p to m is equal to 8. Well, I'm going to make a right triangle here because I know this is a 90-degree angle. Actually, I'm going to make that in black so I can color coordinate this for you. I know that that's a right angle, so I'm thinking I'm going to want to use Pythagorean theorem to find pH, because pH squared is going to equal. All right, first, I'm going to find the length of Pn. I know that from the radius to m and radius to n, letter n are congruent. Therefore, this is also 8. So I have 8 squared. Now I know that if I take my hn and nk, they're congruent. So I'm going to take my 30, and I'm going to divide this by 2. So 30 over 2 is 15, which is the length of hn. So plus 15 squared. To solve this, I'm going to take the square root pH is equal to the square root of 8 squared plus 15 squared, which is going to give me a final answer of 17. I'm finished. That is all we're doing for the day. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.